It's Wednesday, so it's halfway through the week. At least we're recording this, and I've done not a whole lot today. Hurt my back recently, so I had to go to the chiropractor to, kind of get into that a little bit.
Well, they're adult problems.
Yeah, 30-year-old problems. So getting close to 30, it's something, and it's not so much about being an old man as it is like you have to do more maintenance when it comes to when you get a little bit older. When you were younger, you're able to just kind of be reckless, just start whenever you want to, end whenever you want.
Stretches are vital.
That's important. That's something I've told myself I need to do the last few years. Haven't quite made it a routine yet, but you got to make sure that you sleep, get enough sleep. Got to make sure that you ice after you're done, or eat the right food, or it's all those things. So hurt my back on some stupid stuff, and now I am back. I did the chiropractor before, but now I'm back at it. But those are just what I've been going through the last couple weeks. And yourself, I'm sure in your household it's a little bit more eventful.
Dude, I've been doing this teaching gig now since November, and like it's just going down. And it's not like anything I don't do it, of course. Like the gig is fun, but boy, it's elementary school.
Yeah.
Kids,
so are they losing their focus, or is it just?
Oh my God, bro. So the focus is like non-existent. And it was like when I first got there, the first week I got there, it was the week before Thanksgiving. So I get there the Friday before we had off. So they just got to know me or whatever. All I had to do was like, okay, we gotta trace our hands art. So I'm teaching art. So elementary school art. So I had them trace their hand, put 5 things that they're thankful for on the inside of it, and color it up nice, take it home, show your mom, whatever. So they get back and we're in school for 2 weeks, and then it's Christmas. So right when they get to know me, right when I'm starting to get like the classroom rules together and everything, they got another break.
Yeah.
So then we get back from that break from like a week and a half, come back, and then I think we have maybe a month of instruction. So I got through like 3 assignments. I usually do 1 assignment per week for K through 5, right? Got through 3 assignments, and then we had to start preparing for the Black History program. So with this, the kids it's a performing arts elementary school. So the kids that have chorus, go to chorus. The kids that have dance, go to dance. The kids that have drama, go to drama. The kids that have art, come to art. And then the kids that don't have anything, they just go to PE. So what normally happens is you see all the kids on rotation like throughout the week. You get like different groups, you see them all. But because we kept like there's so much going on all the time, like with performances, and like now we're preparing for the spring performance of The Wiz. So now we're about to split it off again to where there's like, I think I've only seen like some certain like 5th graders and 4th graders. I've only seen them maybe like 3 times since I've been there. So like, it's just anytime you do get them in your room, they're like, bro, why I gotta be here, bro? I can't just go to PE. And it's like, nah, like you can't, like, and it's like that, like across the board, across all spectrums.
Of course.
Yeah, like they just the 5th graders got senioritis. The 4th graders are like just like they're hitting puberty, like they're over everything. The girls is like, I told the one girl to start putting on her lip gloss, and she was like, well, my mama told me my lip gloss always popping. So it's like now I'm fighting with what your mama told you could do at school. So it's like it's been those type of problems. But other than that, things are good. Since I've been away from the podcast game, I had a kid, you know what I'm saying? Got married, had a baby. So baby's like a year and 6 months now, almost 6 months now. So she's doing 2-year-old toddler things now and getting these stuff,
getting into things,
crying for no reason and falling out, having an attitude about things and trying to hit people when they're, so it's going good. Now the parenting starts.
The most beautiful thing about that, because I have a bunch of younger siblings, so I don't have any kids of my own, but seeing their personality shape
Yeah.
I have 5 younger brothers who are all similar but completely different. So to interact with each one, you have to, and this is probably why I can interact. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I can interact with people pretty well. It's because I've had to interact with 7, 8 siblings. So when you have set, and then 2 of them are women as well, and they're older. So you can't talk to one like you talk to the other. A lot of times, kind of coming into your more formidable years. And it's like, oh, you found something that worked on one woman. I'm going to do this on every single woman until it doesn't work. And then you find out, you know what? They're literally all different people.
Yeah, yes. If you got older sisters, they let you know pretty early on that, like, nah, that ain't gonna
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. I think that helped a lot with my development. I think that as far as interacting is concerned, I think that probably brings it into the first thing. And where I would go with this is a lot of people weren't the happiest with how Angela Bassett reacted or interacted with not being a winner in her category.
She
What's it
she
called?
lost.
Best Supporting Actress, right?
She lost. Angela Bassett is a loser.
Yeah.
Big whoop.
So, totally um not a part of this conversation specifically, but ironically enough, my great aunt is married to her stepdad um in St.
Florida.
Pete. Yeah. So I've never met it. Wish I did. Met
Gotta
her
make that happen.
stepdad. Yeah, met her stepdad quite a few times. My Aunt Arlene is a sweetheart. But yes. But yeah, I personally, as far as Angela Bassett is concerned, I don't think it's a huge deal. I know it's always weird when you get into these conversations because I, for one, can probably bring race into everything. And no, I'm not a race baiter. It's just race is included in everything. And while this probably has not a whole lot to do with race, but it just feels as though the piling on is like definitely race related. And not to get so heavy so early, but it's like it really is not that big of a deal. I think being a sore loser or being a sore winner or whatever you would call it
Yeah.
is overrated. Like if you lose, you're going to be if you care. Like people always say, if you care, you show that you care, and that always just applies to winning. But when you lose, now I have to shake someone's hand and pretend like I'm happy for them because I lost. Like, no, I'm gonna be upset. I was never upset at Cam Newton leaving the podium or Tom Brady not shaking hands or the bad boys leaving Mike on red. Like, no, that's exactly how this works.
That's what you want to happen. Like that makes for a better story. It's not necessarily the Marvin Harrison, I'm a good sportsman, like that's,
It's
great.
fake. It's
Good
fake.
job.
No, you should be upset because this means so much to you. Imagine
At this
if it
point,
didn't
now
mean.
we know Angela Bassett isn't acting.
Yeah,
This is a real reaction.
yeah. And they got a camera right in your face. Like, unfortunately, I'm human. I'm probably not gonna clap right away. You know?
I'm gonna give her props, but like it just happened. It
Yeah,
just happened. So
yeah,
it's like y'all got the camera in my face when it just happened. I can't suck my teeth. Like I can't like process that. Oh, okay. I lost to the henchman. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's where I'm at with it. Like in my head, I'm like, I don't understand how and it's a supporting cast, but the Black Panther films, well, Wakanda was a just fully supporting cast movie. Nobody was the star of that movie.
yeah,
Between her and Shuri, Letitia Wright, they pretty much shared the screen time with Buddy that played Namor. So
yeah,
like that was a ensemble cast situation where there were no leads. So the only awards to be given out really were supported. So it's like this is probably the top person on the call sheet that lost to like the character that Jamie was
a
playing,
white woman in an Asian movie.
the white woman in the Asian movie, who was like the henchman to the main antagonist of the movie. Like, the antagonist was nominated for best, like, antagonist was nominated. The person that played opposite of Michelle Yeoh was nominated.
So somebody from that movie was going to get it. I didn't
So,
watch.
you know
I
what I'm
don't
saying?
watch
And
a lot of movies, but personally, I knew that that was going to be one of those ones just because I kept hearing the name.
yeah,
So I knew it had to have been like, okay, this is what's going to get the awards. This
I
is
saw
going
it
to
3
get
times. I saw it 3
okay.
times.
So it was that good.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, so, and I don't know if I still stand by this, but when it first came out, so I say Interstellar is the best movie I've ever seen in my life. The joint with Chris Nolan and Matthew McConaughey, time travel, whatever, whatever. I think that's the best movie I've ever seen. So when it came out, when I first saw it, I left the theater and did a quick Instagram and said, move over Interstellar. Cause I was like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Just cause it hit everything. So it had the drama, the action, like the emotional notes, the comedy, it had everything. So I'm like, yo, this is the best. I've never seen anything better than it. I don't know if I still stand by it. It might be not, it's on the list of best movie I ever seen, but I don't know if it's number one. But I saw it 3 times. Like, I 3 times with a wife and kid is tough to pull off. So, like, it was really good. But being that I saw it 3 times, I know that Jamie Lee Curtis was just not like it. She did a good performance, and I feel like she benefited from the same thing that we thought Angela was going to benefit from, being that she's a legacy act. Like, she's been here. We know
She
her.
needs to
Like,
get something. We're gonna give her it for
yeah,
something since we don't know when she may do this again.
we don't know when she's going to do it again. And if you think about it, what's even sicker, which is why probably, you know, Angela definitely should have got it, is because her character's dead now. Like, there's not going to be another opportunity
Yeah,
for, the Queen of Wakanda to deliver like any like lines, unless they call her back in the flashback. But she's not. There's no meaningful thing she's gonna do it.
that's not gonna be
Not,
award worthy.
no, it's not. She'll pop up. She'll pop up in a flashback.
Yeah,
She'll pop up in the astral plane, the ancestral plane, or what. Like, but
it is.
she's not gonna have this opportunity. And for it, like, it was just so much right. Like, to me, it's like so much right on it. And like, Marvel has basically, they can still get their shirt off and be like, hey, we making award winning or award nominated, like Oscar award nominated films over here, and they can get people in. Like, nobody's gonna turn down, Marvel at this point. But
No,
it just means more when you can say we are making Oscar winning films, and not on a technical side. Like, we're putting our actors in position to go get like the big joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you get. And Tom Hanks said he want to do it. But that's how you go get Tom Hanks. That's how you go get Denzel for one finally. Like, that's how you do it. But it's tough when she's about to win, what, 40 years or 30 years after. What's Love got to do with it? After the Tina Turner role, 30 years later, she's about to get it. Do she got another 30 years to wait, like, for another role? This is kind of her time where she kind of need to be getting what she getting. And it's just like, if it didn't happen now, I don't know what's gonna happen, because I don't know who mama you about to play next to try to get this award off.
now as for someone who's big in the movies and me myself, not so much. How much of it do you think, just to kind of play in the middle and not be so on the race side? How much of it do you think is just the Academy just sticking it to Marvel movies in general? Like, we're just not
I,
gonna.
that's a lot of it. That's a lot of it. I'm gonna give you your costume award. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give you your
these
technical.
days.
I'm gonna give you your visual effects award. I'm gonna give you that. Oh, you're not getting that for actors though. I'm not. Yeah, and honestly, I'm not even mad at that. Like
I feel it.
I guess
Yeah,
the thing.
I'm not the worst on that either, and that's kind of why I mentioned, because I'm like, I can probably
Yeah,
see where they're just like, we
it's
are
literally
making
just a
it
reaction.
they Hollywooded. We're not gonna, because this giving of this award would somewhat validate it, like you said, and then it's gonna bring actual actors, well, not actual actors to diminish who's in it, but like the Oscar actors into this movie, they
Right.
would kind of have to give it recognition for Best Picture and stuff like that.
You have to. You have to. I'm not one of those ones that think Black Panther should have won when it was nominated for Best Picture. That's cute, but that shit wasn't all that.
Yeah,
So yeah, it ain't gonna happen. I wasn't big on Woman King. Like, to me, that's like, and this is no knock on Woman King, because I think Woman King was good, but I think it was just good. Like, that's when I go to the movies, I expect to be at least this entertaining.
Yeah.
Like it exceeded my expectations because it wasn't like the fight scenes were also good. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, okay, you're probably gonna do some bullshit for the fight scenes, whatever. But the fight scenes were good too. And the only reason I think that because I didn't like the Old Guard, like, and it's the same lady that directed the Old Guard on Netflix. I wasn't fucking with the Old Guard. So when Women King came out and I saw it, I was like, oh, this is actually like really good. But this is exactly like this is the level that I expect when I come to movies. So I didn't leave it and was like, oh shit, I have never seen anything like this before. This is whatever. When I saw Wakanda, it wasn't that. Also, it wasn't like, oh, I've never seen anything like this before. But like you
No.
said, if they award this performance, then that gives validation to the idea of, hey, these are real movies. And it's just like that's why I'm not really tripping on her losing for that reason, but the reaction to her
Yeah.
reacting to losing is like, all right, like this is a bit much. Like
I would love to
she's not
look
a
back.
come on.
I would love to look back and see how many people like because they do this, split screen side by side often, and
Mhm.
I know even they Eddie Murphy clapped but then dipped on one. Like he lost an award and he dipped out and he got criticized for that. And it's like, that's where it brings it back where it's like,
I
man,
came here.
are you just looking for a reason to bang on someone that looks like him because he's claps, he congratulates and hey, I didn't win. I don't have nothing to celebrate. I really don't have any other reason to be here.
Pulled up
Yeah.
to see if I was gonna win an award. I
Yeah.
normally don't come to these because I'm normally not nominated. I don't come to these.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for me to be here. Like it's just like any other thing. This could have been an email at this point. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to be here.
And to be fair, I mean, depending on where you are in your career, if I come and I win, I might just dip. Like, let's go. Let's start this party, and I can. Yeah, I can get up out of here too. It's
Y'all know where to meet me at, especially it's a what 3.5, 4 hour ceremony. I'm out. I'm out.
get
I
me
lost
get
I
me up
lost
out
an
of
hour
here
or two.
and I'm gone. Yeah,
I lost hour.
yeah.
I got to stay for another 2 hours.
Or I win an hour or two, and like I said, hey, we can get this party started now. We about to go dip, and I already took my pictures. I'm already clean. I got an award. Mail it to the crib. You know.
The
But
Vanity
yeah,
Fair picture was dope. The Vanity Fair picture was dope.
yeah,
With
I
everybody,
love when
all the
they do
art.
that. I
That's
absolutely love when
fire.
they do that. Yeah. It's funny because I was looking at it and I mentioned, I understand that this is just a reason for people to dress up and get together, but maybe the hater in me is like, man, there's a lot of people that probably just don't need to be here. Like I get it. Like I'm a hater, but I'm not a hater. Like if someone invited me, I'm not an actor. I wish I would show up. But then when I'm looking at it, I'm like, I see, you see your timeline and we're big fashion guys. So we see people dressing up. It's like they have no connection to the academy in any way. But they look great. Like when I saw the James is there and they took the pictures with the Green family. And I was like, I get it. However, yeah, why are you guys
What? But do you see the thing? And I think the thing is, it's like, what is Savannah's role? Like, are you guys melanated? Look,
there for anything? But which is
pull up
cool.
though. Pull up. It's in LA. It's something to do in LA. Pull up.
Now she is, and this is how this works. She's got the background video with Vogue, and I just saw some. I think it was WWD, whatever that publication is, and I guess she's starting to get her just do icon tips. Her black male stylist. He's starting to get big record. I mean, he had big clients. Obviously, Savannah James
Yeah.
is a huge client, but like now the name is starting getting into it, which I guess can move right into law. Um, I don't remember if I sent it, but did you see that video at the Louis Vuitton show?
The Zendaya joint.
Yeah.
The it's a tough
How
one.
are they friends or the client? You know, because I was something I thought like there was a lot that was kind of going through my head there, where it's like, I mean, y'all been together for a long time, but y'all at the end of the day to work together. So like these things are assigned, these seats are assigned. You don't see one without the other. How does something like that happen? It either and not nothing against Law because I don't think like I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but
Right.
it's either he rubbed someone the wrong way and they did that on purpose, or somebody's fired because how do you make that mistake?
I think it's probably the former.
Yeah. And
Where,
so
yeah, he, as we have a tendency to do with our existence. Like, somebody probably got,
just our existence.
so like, and, because even with that scenario, I don't know the ins and outs, but it doesn't make sense that this would be a problem in 2023. Like, that's, that's a guy. He's not the guy, but that's a guy.
Yeah.
So you kind of, to not have a spot for him is kind of off.
There was a few things at play that I kind of went over with this and like trying to reconcile in my head. So
You did the breakdown. You got the advanced stats.
exactly. Cause I'm like, how does this happen? So it was a few things. So one, it was the whole friend slash client worker, like employer, employee type deal. That was one dynamic. Then it was, I heard that I guess her contract with Valentino is running out, Zendaya, and she's being recruited by Louis Vuitton. And so if that is true, which I could see easily, she's a muse of all muses at this point. If you want her to be on the squad, there's no way that you're not like she's plus twoing, whoever is right, like that.
Well,
That could be the difference between us doing it and us not doing it. It's like, how do you not have it? But then her body language, where it's like, okay, is there something wrong here? Because if I went somewhere with someone, if it was you, and they assigned these seats, I would imagine that they would, and I'm the one that they're trying to talk to, or I'm the one that's invited, not this one. I'd be like, all right, there's got to be a seat for Pat here. What's going on? And then I'm gonna be like, yo, like we need to either put a seat in here or figure this out, because if I'm here, then someone's got to go for.
And I think that might have been like the lapse. Like I think that might have been where it was up, because I feel like a lot of us like to think that we would have just been like, okay, I'm gonna stand up real quick. I'm gonna stand back up and call somebody over real quick so they can like try to adjust it, and then we're gonna work it out like right here, right now. And you know what I'm saying? It might be one of those things where once you call somebody over, buddy might have been like, hey, you know what, it's good. I'll just, you know what I'm saying? But you, the one that I'm here with, telling me, like,
Yeah,
that you're not supposed to, like, you're supposed to have them tell me that and let me, you know what I'm saying? You're supposed to just ride with me, whatever I say.
especially because these things are assigned, so it almost feels like
You know what I'm coming with. You know what I'm with. Like you said, it's plus two.
And not even just that, for Zendaya, it's like now it feels like you're trying to play me, because like that the seat is here, and now you like, it's like when you know you're not gonna pay for something, you start patting your pockets, like that type deal. Like there's people here, and you know exactly where the seat is, and you trying to put me with press, like I ain't front row.
And that's the thing. It's like he is the nigga that you, I guess, are like, who's that nigga? Who's that adjusting Zendaya's clothes? Like, you know what I'm saying? Who's that adjusting? These celebrities fits.
I was saying that at this point, I feel like Law would get into this show on his own.
On his own.
Yeah. And so with that, with Zendaya being recruited, and then that type of dynamic, I can easily see where this may have happened a few different times. And now do I really believe that he's done? I think that's cap.
Niggas
I don't
irritated.
Yeah,
Niggas
when you put a post that with the retirement sign that you Googled from Image, like even when I got it sent in a DM, I was like, I didn't even really respond to it because I'm like, okay, I see
It's
Yeah,
what
less
niggas do.
yeah, I could easily see where you're frustrated. It's like I'm done, but like I'm like, but like you really kind of are crafting like history with Zendaya, and like your name is almost like synonymous with her. Sure, maybe you straight, maybe
Well,
you put your chips away.
once again, once again, in the same spirit of Angela Bassett sucking her teeth to the side of the cat, like side eye the camera, like same shit with Prince when they was fucking up his songs at the BET Awards. He didn't quit. Like, okay, like
Yeah,
it just lets me know y'all some niggas. Like, you
yeah,
know, we not.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
I appreciate it because like you literally hop on your phone and Googling some bullshit to post to like show your disdain for how these niggas is cheating. Like that's what you're supposed to do. You are
yeah,
supposed to sneak this, sub tweet, like sub whatever it is, sub where you're supposed to do all that when your employer piss you off. You're supposed to do that. You
yeah.
supposed to pump fake to quit. You're supposed to do that. That's what's supposed to happen as a nigga.
Squeaky wheel gets the oil.
That's what you're supposed to do. So every
So
time I
eventually
see
this
that
won't
happen,
happen no more.
I won't say every time, but
Yeah,
9 times out of 10, I'm like, ah, you're
yeah.
one of us.
You're
You're
human.
not too far gone. And, you know, the only time I don't like it is when it's, you know, my guy, yay. And it's like, bro, like, you
Someone,
deserve this one, bro.
which reminds me, someone texted me who I have two pretty close friends who are pretty big into Ye, and one of them is you, and then and you're like, obviously the music, but definitely on the fashion. He's like
Right.
strictly music, and he texted me, was like, "Did you see some list that Ye tweeted?" And I was like, "No, a list about what?" Because I told him I was watching this Netflix doc on Pornhub, and he's
Right.
like, "There was a list," and I think the list had, I think what he told me it was porn categories, and I guess number 4 was transgender, and obviously nothing against the list. It's just with his track record, you can't just tweet stuff like that. But
No,
yeah, I think this was today, like a tweet and delete. Shit, and I'm just like, and I didn't like. We just kind of more or less joked about it because it was like,
yeah.
I think number 1 was like Latina, number 2 was
Shout out to the flies, the Spanish
yeah,
flies.
he said Latina. I think he said black was somewhere in there. I think Asian was in there, and then transgender was in there. And I'm just like, why did this even need to be tweeted? Like this is unnecessary. He's in love with that, and obviously not to spend a whole lot of time on Kanye West because that would take everything. But yeah, Latino, white, ebony, and then transgender. And he said definitely his porn up list, and I just didn't quite know why that needed to be tweeted.
So
But I mean,
I saw him post on Instagram. Like I was looking for him. I said, "Hey, I used to kind of quiet. Where's my guy at?"
but
He's like, "Where's he at?" So I went on Instagram and I was like, "Oh, okay. He actually just posted a week ago. Cool." I said, "Okay, maybe he's like trying to, see what's out here, put the feelers out." So when you say he tweeted that and like, I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, it seems like he's still on the same type of bullshit where it's like, okay, like, so I was kind of hoping. I was like, is it okay to give, Donda a few more 2023 spins? At
yeah,
2020, 2022, I was off it. But now I'm like, okay, well, I'm over it. I was like, I don't know about the community, but I'm over it. So I'm
yeah,
like,
he seems to just the
absence make the heart go fonder. I'm not gonna lie. I was like looking at, the few pairs, the sentimental pairs of Yeezys that I still own, and I'm like,
I, the ironic part about that is I wore my rusty boots today. So
I,
actually, this
Salaty,
computer,
bro. That's Salaty.
yeah, I was about to say this computer's actually because I needed a nice visual. As everyone knows, the laptop it sits on a desk. You angle it, it's a weird angle, but to get
Pop
it
it.
right in front of me, it's propped up on none other than the season 3 Easy Box. So the irony of that
You know,
statement,
I
but yes, Salehi shot.
don't want him, but I need him.
Yeah, yeah. and the quiet he is, I think that's best just simply because, hey, sometimes he gets to rant. I remember the show in Tampa, and he had just ranted somewhere about Cuddy, I think, and we had the show, the St.
When he
Pablo.
did the when he did
Yeah,
the Cuddy rant.
yeah, and so he did something small before.
Yeah.
What's the song where he mentions the jump man jumping over the Yeezys jumping over the jump man? Facts.
Uh, Facts. Yeah.
Yeah. So as he's performing it, he's doing in the song plays, but he does a very small rant. And I was just in my head, I was like, I pray he doesn't go for 30 minutes at this show because he's already 3 hours late. I don't need 30 more minutes of him
It's
screaming
funny how that gets, past 25, you're like, it ain't make it. I got shit to do, bro. I got shit to do in the morning, bro.
Well, that's wild because like there is obviously issues with people being punctual for shows, unfortunately. And like at that time, it is what it is. Like I was younger. I ain't got the time. Like the show's already starting at 8. We already know his catalog is extensive.
So, do you see that tweet I forget, it was a random tweeter. I don't remember who it was, but they were like, just imagine if, like, why are concerts at night? Just imagine if you got to see Beyonce at 1. The concert was over at 3. You went and got drinks at 4. You were like, you know what I'm saying? You were in bed, you were at home and in bed 9 o'clock. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
what a concept. Like that actually,
That's why I like day
like,
parties.
yeah, like I'm in and out and I'm back where I need to be and in the comfort of my bed at a reasonable time to where even if I'm slumped, even if I'm on my level, I can still get 12 hours and still have the rest of my day. Like I
Start
can get
the
my 8,
hangover
9, 10
process
hours.
early.
I'm in bed at 9 o'clock, I'm up 5, 6. Like I'm up 6, 7, 8 latest. 8
Yeah.
o'clock latest, I'm up. And I just got my full, 12, almost
Experience.
12, 10, 11 hours. I still went out to the concert. I still did everything I wanted to do, but I'm in bed and I'm up in the morning.
Yeah.
So now, like you said, the hangover process, I can actually go out and get like the breakfast. I don't got to get the brunch because, the brunch still, they be trying to push the mimosas on you. And they be like, yo, like,
Air the dog.
straight,
Yeah.
good. So it's like amazing. But I think like we was talking about with Ye, one of the things that, like you said, absence makes the heart go fonder. One of the things that helped him right now, it's helping his case, is just he's staying out of the way. And I think that's kind of what our NBA guys trying to do. Like I think that's what was trying to do. It's just stay out of the way. Like nigga, lay low, duck your head. Like it'll gloss over if you let it. But if you start talking,
Yeah.
you start, detailing too many things, and I feel like the public after those strip club pics drop,
Yeah.
I feel like he kind
Never
of
on his side. Yeah.
he won everybody back a little bit.
Yeah.
But depending on how this conversation goes with Jalen, you know, is he Kyrie? Is he gonna put his foot in the mouth?
Here's another good thing I think that he did that he learned ironically from Kyrie was not only just staying out of the way, but like sometimes you just have to win the press conference. I'm the way you are with movies is how I am with sports. And the easiest thing you can do when someone's trying to like if they want to paint a narrative they can, but I heard from someone, I forget who this wise person was, but they can't edit something you don't say, so I think a lot of times people it was convenient for people to compare this to Kyrie, and it was like the difference between him and Kyrie was like I think Kyrie spent a lot of time trying to control a particular narrative when maybe he's probably not the best person to do this just because he doesn't have like the particular media training. And not to say that he's not intellectual or whatever, but it's like there are people that you pay to put stuff into the media or into publications, just like the organization has people to do it. and they're always going to be better. That's why people end up like disliking the Kardashians, because you hear sources close to the Kardashians, and it's probably just Chris calling people and telling them exactly what needs to be said. And so instead of it coming from our mouths, it comes from people who said sources, which really is us. And so Ja, who with Nike letterhead says,
Right.
hey, I need to take a step away. I'm going through some things mentally. I'm handling stress bad. These are all things there's a fringe corner of the internet that'll be like, yeah, you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. But most people are going to be like, oh, you know what? 23 years old. I signed a $200 million contract. I would be way wilder. And so just like how you said they're on his side after, I think at the first intention is to bang on him because the gun and stuff, but it was like, let's little bro him and be like, hey.
Yeah.
And then now, like you said, he gets with Jalen, who probably was Ja before Ja at some point, and it could go good. Now, there are clips that are out, and I get to dissect it a little bit. He says something like, hey, where have you been for the last 10 or 11 days? How have you been? It's like, I've felt the best I've felt in years. And for me, I'm like, all right, so you mean after 2 weeks of therapy, you're perfect? That like usually so the way they framed it was like it wasn't even a suspension. They framed it like he just needs time. And I'm like, okay, he's probably done, and that's fine. The Grizzlies ain't doing shit in the playoffs anyway. But when you come back after 2 weeks and now they're framing it as a suspension with time served after your 5 games, it's like, okay, he's winning the press conference, which is perfectly fine. I don't care. Get back on the court. But if we
Right.
actually do care about
And
his
the boy needs help.
sit him down. Like this is the most stressful part of the
I'm
NBA
not winning
season.
this year anyway. With
And
them,
he
without
couldn't
him,
handle
you're not winning.
stress. No, he needs to probably chill. And
Yeah.
we'll just try this back next year.
And the thing is, and I guess maybe this is what kind of would help would make the leadership say, let's get them back. Shit, if we can get them back, let's get them back. But they're winning. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily spiraling out of control or anything like they're treading water. They're all right. I think we're like 7-3 over the last 10 games or something like that. Like they've been all right. So it's like, well, shit. If we had John to this, we could have been 10 and like what I'm saying, we could have won the last 10.
Yeah.
So I understand it, but at the same time, if you're worried about the long term, success of your product, and because that's ultimately what it is. I think
He'll
the
kick
best,
next year.
the best way to handle that is just get them some help and like be like, hey, bro, you know what? Just take the time off. If you're not winning with them anyway, like it's got to be it's kind of a next year thing anyway. Like you got to see what you got to do in free agency in the draft and off season. You got to see what you're going to do anyway because you're not winning this year. Like
Yeah.
even though the West is wide open, it's not necessarily for you guys.
The top half is so much different to me than the bottom. Just because the way it's shaping out, unfortunately, like it's just they just
The bottom
it
is
just
crazy.
seems like now depending on the way the 4-5 sets up, it could probably make it a little bit more interesting. But as far as the Grizzlies with Steven Adams being out for so much time and other things like that and other injuries and just stuff that they have going on, it doesn't look like they're gonna come out of the West. So for me, it would
Like you
make
said,
no sense.
the bottom is, kind of more. The bottom is where all the experiencing at. The bottom is where that's that playoff pedigree is at.
Yeah.
The top is the guys is Denver, where you have yet to prove anything. Like you still haven't gotten it done. Like you haven't done it on concrete yet. Like you might be able to do all the backflips you want, and it just what like I already told me running on a treadmill is different from running outside. So like
Easily. Yeah.
you might be able to run. You might be able to do your 5K on a treadmill. You really might be able to.
And then it's like
running the gap gorilla is different from your treadmill. Like
Yeah.
it's just different.
Mhm.
So it's like that's different to me. Okay, your guy is a dog. Okay, cool. But his playoff record ain't that. Y'all got injuries again. So I'm not really sold on I'm not sold on the team. I'm sold on the piece. I'm not sold on the team. And then Sacramento, good job, guys. You guys are killing it right now.
Light the beam.
Yeah, like, babe, it's amazing. Good job. It's exciting to watch. Playoffs, yeah. Like I like Clippers with Westbrook in the fourth to take y'all out. Like I just I don't
And
know.
then there's still Phoenix.
It's still Phoenix that they gutted their squad. They gutted their bench to bring over Durant. And Durant's hurt, but
With
it's
a
still
old man injury at that. Like it was just a goofy. It didn't look like I slipped on water slip. It looked like I just old man slipped.
and he looked down, right. He looked down to make sure that whoever didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Whoever left that puddle got
Mm-hmm.
fined. So whoever that was is
Now,
now looking for
now that
some gainful employment somewhere else.
now that does bring it in. Where do you fit on uh MVP Jokic conversation? How do you feel on that particularly?
JJ Redick, not JJ Redick. Was it JJ Redick?
JJ,
No,
yeah,
it wasn't.
hurt.
It wasn't. Yeah, not that conversation. But I forgot who it was. It might have been Max or somebody from one of the shows. But it's just like, bro, there's still some season left. Nah, it might be even been Gilbert or Raiders. There's still a lot of season left. Like there's still enough season to determine who. Like if the race is this close, then let it continue to play out. If it's this close between Giannis and now Jokic is on a slide right now, plus the negative press or whatever, just the negative eyeballs or whatever. And it's not necessarily anything he did, but he's sliding down. Giannis is moving up. Embiid is always right there anyway. It's one of those things where I'd rather wait to the end. I would like Embiid to get one. I would like Giannis to get another one. I don't want Jokic to get a third, but this is the year where he would get a third. Like he's actually putting off phenomenal performances. It's like he probably deserves this one more than his first two. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't know how to not give it to him outside of one of these guys just going crazy the last 12 games.
Yeah, and I think the irony is where I mentioned that I could bring literally race into everything. This would be one of those times where it's like, all right, maybe there is a tad bit of racial biasness here. However, he is actually a fucking dog. So like, it's hard to be like, all right, they giving it to him because he's a white boy, but he actually is cold. So
He's
it's like,
performing at MVP level. Like
yeah,
no mistake.
he's cold. So yeah,
If he won it this year, I can't say anything.
yeah, maybe there's a situation where the voters aren't as fatigued as they were with 23 or as fatigued as they were with 6. Possibly, sure, that is a thing. However, maybe if he deserves it, he deserves it. And it's unfortunate that, I mean, it would suck that, I guess, he could get 3, but like you said, there is quite a bit of season left. The narrative behind just the award itself, it changes from year to year. Sometimes the record matters, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they attach it to, I forget what the advanced metric is, like win shares per 48 or something like that, and that's the metric that's most connected to the winner of the MVP. And Jokic is higher than the other guys, but there are situations where that wasn't always the case. And then maybe the voters are a little bit smarter when it comes to what they look for versus when maybe they gave it to Nash at a certain point, where they gave it to somebody else at another point, or didn't give it to Kobe a year, or whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, that does suck. But I mean, these things happen all the time. People make more money now for being marginal players versus superstars were making whatever they're making.
Man.
So you're born in a different time. You strike gold or strike hot, win it at the right times, and and it happens. It would be kind of bad to see, because who knows when Embiid will get another opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, his prime window is closing for sure.
And he just
And just
always
because
he
his
sometimes gets hurt. So it's
that's really it. It's mainly just because of injuries. Like he still should be able to, rock, especially as a big man. Like he, Tim Duncan played for a minute. You know what I'm saying? I guess he's not necessarily the standard, but as a big man, you can play for a minute. Now, how long can you be in your prime? How long can you do, play at the highest level? That's whatever. But he's still he's right at 30.
yeah,
If he's 30, he's right at it. So it's like, bro, you still got at least 2 or 3 good years, you know, on the hips and the knees, nigga. Like you can make something happen. But does he?
yeah.
And is the squad gonna be, up to par? Because right now this is one of the best squad he has, like as far as like what they're actually doing on the court. Like the Jimmy Butler team was nice, the Ben Simmons years was nice, but right now they're playing some good ball where it's like, okay, these niggas might actually be able to make some shake in the playoffs. And I guess the thing is, when we talk about the MVP race, I didn't like the conversation that like I didn't like that spin that JJ Redick tried to put on Perk. Yeah, Perk is not necessarily the most, you know, I guess well spoken or thought out person with his opinions a lot of times. But he not wrong. And for them to address like to have to put out a statement for 12%, like I think Perk said
One voter,
80%.
one voter. It's the difference between 8 out of 10 and 7 out of 10. Like realistically speaking, and when they said it's much more diverse, they didn't put the numbers up, which lets you know that they were already on some shenanigans because they could have easily because it's the difference between 80 and 68 is marginal. No one would even care that much.
Now that I'm grading tests for a living, I'm like, oh, nigga, if you miss one question,
Yeah.
your grade goes from an 83 to a 6. Like it's like, no, these things matter. So it's like the nigga said 80, you correct them and it's 68. Like you correct them for 12. Like I would correct them if it was 58.
Yeah. If we're
I would
talking about the difference between like flipping a vote, but I don't think one voter is making that much of a difference if we're being completely honest. And it's still
yeah.
seven.
And like
Like,
you said, the fact that they didn't like produce the number, like we had to go and get the number. They didn't like show us the demographic. They didn't show us that. Like they just made the statement and then we went and did it. And they still haven't said nothing else after that. It's like, come on, y'all. Like, this is
yeah. Yeah. I tend to, whenever there's something smart sports wise, I tend to look towards Bamani for these things because
right.
I think he's pretty good at like managing the difference between what is logical as far and as well as what is racial, which
Right.
isn't always the most apparent. But the way he made it seem was like because he had a conversation about Duke and their conversations of race, and their situations of race at their school, and
Right.
JJ didn't like that before. He didn't like how he framed it, and he took a very nuanced conversation and put it into a phrase, which was the same thing he did to Perk. It's like, are you trying to say that there's racial biasness? It's like, well, or that they're racist. It's like, maybe it's not necessarily racist, but if there's a panel versus white guys and there's a white guy on the ballot, chances are they're probably going to vote for him whether or not he deserves it or not. So
And that's
when
just
that's just kind of how these things work. And
JJ been letting his white boy come out. Like he been
yeah,
letting the white man slip a little bit. I
for
understand
you
because
for you to
he's
completely ignore that is like,
he's removed. He's removed
yeah.
from having to be around niggas for 82 games. You know what I'm saying? He's not in the locker room. So he's not with
Do you listen to his pod?
every now and then. I'm
Yeah.
not subscribed, so I don't get the episodes to my phone. But like while I'm riding around, I'll put it on every now and then. I listen to Theo more than him, but I'll put it
The irony is, I actually don't think that he is like I don't think he's a bad guy.
no, he's not.
Ironically enough, I think like everyone and like us, and ironically, we didn't mention the name of the podcast, but I think he has his own blind spots, and
Yeah,
unfortunately, like
for sure.
with you being what you look like and being where you're from, and you just totally ignoring the fact that that could possibly be something just simply because he does deserve it is a
Right.
little bit problematic. And to completely dismiss that, it's like it's not even to really see them as people, because this is something that we do have to deal with. Unfortunately, it's something that's so superficial, but it is a real thing. And yeah, it's unfortunate. But anyway,
I mean, that's
uh,
that's sort of the thing. That's eventually you deal with enough white people.
it's
So
fair.
they're gonna it's gonna happen, and it's like once again, it's relatively benign. Like it's not like he's not, you know, he's not fucking Trump, but uh, yeah, when those things happen, I'm like, damn, bro, like this, like you gotta have a better read on it than that. Like you, like, come on, man, like nobody's calling this shit racist, but once again, we are judging black talent,
Yeah, by a bunch of white
and
guys.
it's a bunch of white guys judging black talent. So it like, I'm not gonna go into the however many who these, journalists are and go into like what type of slants they put on their articles. But come on, bro. Like it's a bunch of white guys that, and if we're talking about some shit that happened 20 years ago, as far as like the mass shit, I mean, 20 years ago, we know who was writing the articles 20 years ago. I mean, shit. You got to think Skip is maybe 60 now. So who was 60 then?
Yeah, and this
You
the reason
know,
why they kept. This the reason why T.O. took so long to get into the Hall of Fame, because he rubbed a lot of writers the wrong way. And it's like, I mean, I understand maybe he wasn't the nicest guy, but like his numbers are undeniable. That's a Hall of Famer.
so like that's the type of shit that, we kind of deal with, and then we think we got one, and then they come out and be like, "Hey man, like, are you saying?" And then Kendrick is just like, "I don't know how to handle this for real. I'm just going to say, you don't know what's in that man's head," which is a rough
Yeah.
response anyway. But it's
Who's
just
looking for who's looking for nuance on First Take, anyways? But
all right.
now I guess lastly, uh, the biggest thing, I think one of the biggest things at least, no real smooth transition here, but nonetheless, um, we're big fashion guys, we're big sneaker guys. Obviously, you can tell in the back when there's quite a bit of sneakers here. But I don't own one pair of Tom Sachs, and fortunately for myself, um, I tend to be pretty intentional with the dollar, and it would suck to have to get rid of my Tom Sachs. Like, whether or not you want to get rid of your Yeezys is besides the point. I understand why. Maybe you want to keep it. Maybe you don't care. You can
Right.
compartmentalize. That's fine. However, there's been quite a bit of wildness when it comes to Tom Sachs, and it just feels like, is anything sacred? Is everyone
No,
a piece of
it's
shit? Like,
everybody's a pervert, and I think the thing is, I forgot when it was when I first like, became a man and got grown and had like friends and got put on to like, just adult scenarios. And the first time you realize everybody out here fucking, like everybody out here, like, oh damn, like it's something that clicked, and I think the thing that clicked a little bit earlier, I know for us, is that damn, all these guys are fucking pervs.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like,
it's a lot. Like, I thought, like, one of those things. Not only were they purrs, but like when you were growing up, you were like, man, I thought that only us cared about sex. And then at some point it clicked and you're like, you know what? Women actually like it as much, if not more. And they might actually be a
yeah,
little bit more emotionally mature, because we are just like, ah, boobies. And they're like trying to find mates. And then that's when the weirdness kicks in. And then motherfuckers want to, I don't want to get into it, but you obviously know, like, niggas just do
we know,
weird stuff.
we
And
know.
and apparently just every artist, like when they get real eclectic, it's always met with some weird sexual practices and weird names for stuff, rape room and being naked around the
How would you
office. And
ever? Like,
You know,
and I think the thing is that bugs me out, man. 'Cause I guess, and I read the article, and I don't think they gave too much of a timeline. Like, I don't really recall any like dates or like years or stuff. But
yeah,
like, I think we're well beyond. We're now what, almost 8 years after this Cosby situation.
yeah,
Like, we've had some time to like try to figure out, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. However many years, if it's almost 8 years for Cosby, then it's relatively almost 7, 8 years for Weinstein, maybe 6 for Matt Lauer. Like,
yeah.
we know how, what how sex is supposed to work in the workplace, which means it's not supposed to. Peer to peer, there's no, room for you guys to everything has to be reported. We know how these things work. We know how sexuality, not necessarily sex, but sexuality, like just even these conversations have to happen in the workplace. Buddy, you got a rape room, like you got a room that your employees know as the rape room in 2023. That is a thing.
It's not enough art in the world for me to be like, it's so dope that we just have to give it some weird eclectic name for you to know that everything here is, you know,
I think a rape room is like,
I,
like
I don't even know where
I'm
the
expecting Duke lacrosse, team
yeah.
to not 60-year-old like white art guy. And I guess maybe I shouldn't be so surprised by it. And I guess I'm not necessarily surprised by it, but I'm just surprised by like, how can you fuck your bag like that? Like, bro, like I get the art, I get all the shit, I get it. I don't understand why
Right.
after, like, I don't know how long he's had this. Somebody said they wanted to work at the studio for since they were 15 years old. So, this studio has been around for years. When did you dub it the rate? Like, is it post or is it like pre? And then why didn't you change the name unless you like? And that's where it gets to the, oh, well, you just thought nothing was going to happen to you. You thought you were so big, and you thought you were so artsy that nothing could happen, that nobody would eventually say, hey, we need to like check this nigga out. Like, we're going to ring
No,
the
I'm
alarm.
backed by Nike. I'm backed by Nike. I'm never going to fail.
And like you
Yeah.
said, like job with the Nike letterhead, like, hey y'all, I'm gonna go get some help real quick. And nothing that he did was any like near in the same stratosphere. But like, bro, like y'all cannot just continue to do shit just because you have this giant behind you, because that's really what it is. It's just like it's a certain level of success that people get to. And it's not exclusive to like white men or whatever. It's just a certain amount of success, a certain amount of financial like security or something that just allows people to give themselves that grace to where it's like, oh yeah, no, they'll understand. And it's like, no, nigga, we do not understand a roommate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think I mentioned it before. I would expect that from Duke lacrosse team. I'm
Yeah.
not expecting that from people that have like, you have employees, like you have people relying on this art. Like, you have people, feeding their family off of your art, like off of the things that come out of your head. You have like just giants, like even with the Ye and the Adidas situation. That's how many like how much money. They haven't done a story yet. I don't think I haven't seen one about Adidas having to lay people off. But what are the potential losses of you being a dickhead? Even if it's not nothing's going down, I'm just being artsy and just being an asshole and making the women in my office uncomfortable. Like what would be the there's no real benefit towards it. There's no real, I can't think of anything other than fuck you. Like I can't think of anything other than just a middle finger to uh woke society or woke culture of just like I can say whatever I want to say. And like, motherfucker, why would you ever need a room with rape in it? Like it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. Especially just given that everything that's going on right now. And like we have so much data. We just like back to the NBA shit, bro. The advanced analytics on this shit. It's just like they don't be lying, bro. They don't be lying. So
And then when you name stuff like this, it almost feels like, how could you even not think that this is happening if people are just out in the open with it? Like, this is how I get down, this is how I play. you know.
But they talking about some. He taking meetings with the Nike staff, predominantly women. He taking meetings in his underwear. Like why?
I,
Oh, well,
I also,
we have to do fittings. Well, why do you take the meeting already in your underwear? Like let them like like let them ask you. And I don't know how how these things work necessarily, like virtual fittings and stuff. I don't understand. For real, I don't know the ins and outs of it. But I think if we got tech good enough to get measurements over the Wi-Fi, you might be all right to still maybe have some, I don't know, some yoga, like some the leggings maybe. They got to be draws. Like you got to be like
yeah, it's getting to a point now where it feels as though the big companies not only are they seem to pick the wrong people, but it almost feels like they're like culpable to some extent because
yeah.
I
No, for
mean
sure.
now at this point I forget the publication, but one of the bigger sneaker blogs is saying it in 2017 they knew this guy was a wacko, and it's like they just allowed him to keep. It's 2023, and these sneakers are coming out in was it Ross's or whatever, and he has it's an entire
Yeah.
website dedicated to his
It
sneaker,
it
and
seems genius. It seems genius.
yeah, wear testing and pop-ups and
Yeah,
Nike's just they like if that was what it was in 2017, we could have easily nixed this. Like it could have
for
been
sure.
done, and because we just buried it under a bunch of shit and people, I guess maybe people were already under NDAs and whatever the case may be, and now it is somehow made. And like I mentioned earlier, when somebody wants something to be out, it'll be out. There's ways to get around that, and just know that these publications are side or they have ironclad sources that they feel comfortable enough to put this information out, which means that it's chances are this is probably coming from someone pretty close.
This is a good
And
source. Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty good source, and it just is beyond me that they could. I mean, I guess it shouldn't be. Just like you said, it shouldn't be that we would think this would come from a guy that like him. I guess it shouldn't be like it's money over
Yeah.
everything.
And yeah, that's just the thing. It's like it's not at all surprising. It's just the
Yeah,
point where it's like, as a society, it's like, bro, like we can't have shit, bro. Like you can't, like we can't we can't have a little $100 general purpose shoe. Like we can't have nothing.
$100 beater is attached to some sick shit.
Like, and it's just like, bro, like that's where it gets so frustrating, that because it's not only this industry, it's across all, like it's across everything. It's across every aspect of your life. Like it don't matter where you at, you gonna run into a weirdo.
Yeah. So the
You
best
know?
thing the best thing I try to do, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, is just if you can, be as intentional with your dollar. And I think
Yeah.
that is the biggest thing when it comes to this podcast. And just to kind of give the viewer and listener an insight, um, it's called Blind Spots. I think we've both had our own stints in podcasts before, and we know
Right.
how we would like to do things and how we wouldn't want to do things, as well as just certain conversations. I know most people are like, "Hey, man, we had this conversation in these group chats, and it should be out for public consumption," and not everything works that way. However, I'd like to think that we have pretty intelligent conversations on whatever wherever we're having them, but just being as like obviously we like to have fun, but just trying not to be caricatures of ourselves and understanding, trying to be better. I mean, I know we've had conversations about like the podcast that we did before that we were both on, and we could see like the forming of that, where it's like, okay, we were still kind of on some ratchet shit, but like we could see where it's like, okay, the ideals that we have now as being their 30-year-old men was being crafted at that time. And
Right.
so if we can just make it where it's still entertaining, but also just fucking stupid, like it's a lot of times the shit's just dumb. I don't want to hear people just yelling at each other and having like having conflict for the sake of conflict. If it comes to conflict, it is what it is. So hopefully, that can make you feel a little bit smarter as a listener, because I have a good time thinking about these things, and there are certain people that I do talk to about things when I want to filter things out loud. Patrick's one of those guys where I'm just like, all right, maybe I'm not so well versed in religion or movies or whatever. I may shoot the text and be like, yo, what is this?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where this venture is starting.
I think
Any
that's a great,
closing was for you?
that's a great, like, I guess it's a great, like, encapsulation of everything. You know what I'm saying? It's just two dudes, two niggas. Is just at a certain point, you start peeping shit. You know, you start noticing trends, you start noticing patterns with just the way shit work, and it's just like something got to give. That's some other shit you say when you get old. Something got to give. You know, so it's just like being at this stage in life. It's not one of those things where of course, fun is always to be had. I'm always getting my shit off with the jokey jokes, but at a certain point, it's like, bruh, niggas is fucking up. Like, niggas is fucking up, and everybody's endorsing it, and it's just like it's just tough to you know, feel like you said, when I need to hear some shit out loud, I need to get some shit off and like kind of bounce shit off a wall out loud. It's the person I come to, because a lot of times just listening to somebody else's podcast, just listening to somebody else's voice, just listening to reading tweets, you don't necessarily get a good picture of, you know, what really is going on or what's the best thing, or like you don't know if like, damn, am I missing something? Am I crazy? Um,
That's a
and
good
it's just
view.
good to, it's good to get these thoughts out, and also, maybe put them out there for somebody else that may be in the same or in the same spot or a similar spot or trending a certain way to where it's like, your ideals are changing. The way you think about things and not the same way you thought about it, 4 or 5 years ago, even a year ago.
And maybe you're in
So
a group of people where the voices may be louder, and it's
yeah,
like, man, I think some of these things, but then it's like they shoot it down because it's like, man, we
not a
all
lot.
are.
It's
Yeah.
not fun. It's not fun to be aware of, hey, niggas are fucking up. Or like, like we might actually be some of the problem. It's fun to just assume it's fun to just shit on white people about Kyrie or Kai or about any of this shit. Like it's fun. A lot of times, guys, and even with those scenarios that I named, there is truth in it, but there's a way to have the conversation to where you can acknowledge the truth of what, and you can extract the truth of what they're saying, but also acknowledge that, hey, this is not the best method of getting this shit out. And it's not saying that everybody got to be MLK pacifist. You can't, meet violence with violence. You can't, you have to just button everything up and be respectable about everything. We're not saying that at all. This is not what this podcast is about. But it's just about trying to understand that there are ways that we can go about things better.
Yeah.
There are different, opinions, and there are different ways to go about these societal issues, however serious or however small, however big. There are ways to go about these things where it doesn't have to be like one side or the other. You don't have to be for or against. You don't have to be woke or like just an asshole. No, this is not what it's about, guys. There is some middle ground here. There is some ways that we can dissect this information and spread it out to where we all can grow from it. If you allow yourself to, if you allow yourself to see certain things, from a different perspective, if you allow yourself to be moved to look at it from a different perspective, what can we benefit as a whole as Black people? Like you said, super intentional with his dollar, something that we both try to make sure we do. Like super intentional with how we spend our money, but it's also super intentional about literally everything. Like I'm not trying to be out here supporting shit that's hurting us, or it's about us. At the end of the day, it's about, like, I got a daughter. I'm not trying to perpetuate shit that I don't want my daughter growing up in. And it's not just how men treat women, it's also, you know, what happens in the workplace. You know, it's more that goes into it than just, you know, this battle of the sex shit that we got going on in society right now. So, you know, I think the goal of this is just to, you know, of course, have fun first and foremost, be entertaining, but also shed light on some things and help you guys see from a different perspective, maybe that you just haven't thought about. And maybe this is the way to get it, because, you know, tweets turn into arguments. And this way I can talk all I want. You can't say nothing back.
Yeah. So I think this is good for first start. We'll be back as frequent as possible. And I'm signing off.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Yep.